Good morning. Good morning. I guess we'll start off with introductions. I'm QW. I do a show with Avi over there, Plug Chain Radio. I've been a pretty heavy Nostr user for since the great Jack Hatchening. A lot of the reason I'm here is because I just want to help. I want to help in any way. Try to focus my energy on what I can, change things that are around me. Focus my energy on community building, like with Nostr PHX. Shout out to Santos back there. Looking for purpose. That's one of my big things. And that's why I'm here. And introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm OpenMike. Day job in the music industry. I've been working in live entertainment, concerts, promotion for about 10 or 11 years. Huge supporter of independent music and this technology, and how to integrate that into the experience and really promote artists and independent music.
Yeah, so we all know things are broken. The music industry would be a major one, but we'll get into that. I was thinking about it on the plane ride here. I'm literally in the last row. I'm 6'5". I could barely fit in the damn seat, and I'm just thinking about the days, like let's say the 70s, where the plane rides used to have prime rib being cut for you. I mean, it used to be an experience. Now you're in a sardine can. These are things in life that you continue to go through that you just know things are broken. You feel, you experience that it's broken. And for me, it's just, I want to focus my energy on things I can change, or at least focus my energy where I can change. And you know, that's why I'm here. That's why I think we're here. In a lot of the ways, you know, that same analogy can kind of, that really gets us into the music industry in general, and kind of how we can enable the sovereignty of artists, the sovereignty of venues, the sovereignty of, anybody involved in this broken system. So, you know, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, to expand on my day job, I'm actually the CFO of the company that I work for. So I see all the numbers. I know what's going on. I know what it costs to go on tour, what it costs to run the venue, what it costs to promote the show. And then furthermore, I'm a CPA. So I was naturally drawn to Bitcoin and to the problems of the financial institutions and the financial system. And for many years, I've just seen these parallels of these, you know, pretty opaque, gate-kept communities, and a lot of people with observations that things don't feel right, or they don't feel broken. There's no middle class, and you know, really no solution, right? It's just broken. We just protest Occupy Wall Street. We protest Live Nation, but what do you do about it, right? What's the solution? You know, I had some. I think it's we'll dive into the music industry, but I really have been compelled to kind of get off the sidelines and participate because of these similarities and these things that I see between, you know, somebody just trying to make a name for themselves in music, or trying to pull themselves up from working class and you know, pay their bills.
I think that's an important point. When you talk about your story or mine, we're not devs. We weren't people that were, you know, super. I mean, we understood the principles of Bitcoin. We knew, like, you know, my name on it is Quiet Warrior. I was literally just kind of a quiet warrior. I didn't say a lot. I wasn't doing a lot in the Twitterverse. You know, it was really just that abyss. But the way that Nostr has touched me, touched you, enabled you, kind of made you find a purpose, or find a way, an avenue where you can affect things, or you can actually work towards change. Nostr, I don't think people can really put a value on that, how much Nostr kind of enables that creative side of things. You have a brand new frontier where, you know, anybody can say, oh, I'm into cooking. Let's do zap.cooking. I have a lot, you find value around you. You know, what's your core competency? Well, I work at a venue. I have a music venue. Well, let's build something out from there. And Nostr really enables that that creative juices, the get off your ass mentality. And I think the encouragement of the community in general is really the power of Nostr, pleb chain. So
yeah, 100%. And I think it goes further because you talk about, like, you know, you go to Times Square, you see the Wall Street debt clock, and you're like, like, we're never going to get out of this. Well, now the headlines, people are seeing it, and they're asking, like, no, how are we going to get out of this? Like, and music is the same, right? Like, it's trendy to look at your ticket stub and complain about, like, my ticket used to be $100, now it's $140 because I magically clicked checkout. You know, where did these fees come from? You know, and artists on the Spotify side, you know, we've got all these common known narratives, and, you know, the most common solutions that I see, you know, to use our terminology, it just seems so very fiat to me, right? Like, let's go complain about the centralized monopoly by going to the government and begging them to fix it and break up the monopoly, and then it'll just happen all over again, or they'll just kind of reroute, you know, divest Ticketmaster from Live Nation, and what do we really solve, right? But you know, to play devil's advocate, it's also kind of trendy, right? It's kind of cool to be the underdog. It's kind of cool to be like, Live Nation, let's go, you know, pitch a tent and occupy Wall Street. It's great. But these are challenges too, right? Like, we actually have tools now, and it's really small. Nostr's tiny. Bitcoin, in the grand scheme of things, tiny. But these offer a narrative for me to present somebody who's frustrated in the music industry. Well, hey, you're not going to get rich overnight, but throw your stuff up on Tunestr. Maybe you'll make $20, maybe you make $100, see what happens, but you're participating in the solution. You have a responsibility to try something different rather than just beg someone else to do something different.
And you mentioned Tunestr, so anybody that doesn't know what Tunestr is, it's basically a fork of Zap.stream, and it's catered to live. Let's say you have a band, you want a little additional revenue stream. It's a way for you to perform live via Nostr online. So tell a little bit about Tunestr.
Yeah, like QW said, I'm not a dev. I am. You know, I understand enough about the technology to be dangerous. I can play around a little bit, but don't get me in a command line anytime soon. And so, you know, kind of piggybacking on this concept of participate in the solution, I've been a Bitcoiner for several years, Nostr on the Jack Hatchening 2022, and I just went out to Nostrasia, right? And I just went out and started asking questions, telling people what I was doing, what I liked, what I didn't understand, and you know, met a lot of the devs out there and asked for some help. And so Zap.stream, we just forked it. No rocket science there. Had some people help me develop the website, and then, you know, I've got 2,000 plus bands coming through every year. All I need to do is have a couple say yes. And we actually, great example, QW was pushing me the other night, like, why don't you do something here? Why don't you Tunestr something here? And
well, the beautiful thing about it is we're already streaming. So technically, if this is already on YouTube, it would just take another 5 minutes to key pair it or whatnot to make it Zap enabled. So from my understanding, Tip, I believe, is opening up tomorrow with a concert, and it sounds like we'll be actually launching that also on Tunestr. So it's a way to connect the global community within, you know, to the concert that's IRL. So having that community, be able to zap, be able to kind of experience it with them, I think that's a big deal. So that's how easy it was, though, because it wasn't going to be on Tunestr. It was just like, well, why isn't it? Well, let's make it happen. So it's going to be an extra probably 5 minutes, and it'll be connected live. So that's pretty neat. And when I'm watching her, I'm going to be on Tunestr. I'm going to comment with the community. I'm going to zap. And that's kind of a neat approach to what Nostr can actually enable beyond just the social social media.
Yeah, and I guess backing up, how many in here have used zap.stream? Like logged in, done the chat rooms and zapped. So Tunestr is obviously just the same thing. It's just a little different color scheme and different look. But maybe you want to talk about zap.stream and what the what that basic premise is, because it looks a lot like YouTube, but we all know
or Twitch,
right?
I believe it's Twitch, but it's essentially just a live streaming where the community's there. I kind of feel like Nest is in a big way is the same kind of thing, because it's essentially built by the same dev. Shout out Kieran, but it's just a way to interact live. I know Odell, I think all of his shows are now on zap.stream. It's just a way to keep opting out of legacy media and join the revolution of Nostr, and decentralize your mindset there. So that's kind of normalizing things like zap.stream, Tunestr, Damus, whatever it may be. You are taking part in a bigger idea, bigger movement, and I think that's important. But zap.stream is essentially, you'll see a lot of replication going on where you take the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to make that, and just make it into Nostr. That's great, but Nostr also gives you a lot more tools that you can build with. So just like Nest is a replacement of, they'll say, oh, it's a replacement of Spaces. Well, Spaces doesn't have zaps. Spaces doesn't have a live chat-enabled conversation going on. So there's a lot more features and tools that we can build, being that we're building it from scratch. When I say we, obviously it's not me, but I'm all about back scratching. So if I can back scratch a dev, I will. But that's really it. That's kind of what zap.stream is. And the fact that you can fork, so the open source environment, the fact that you can just say, I like zap.stream, but I want to make zap.stream only for artists. That's exactly what you did, and it's beautiful having that open source environment where you can just fork things into your own product or offering for to sell the purple to buy the orange.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also to further, you talked about Twitch and YouTube. Obviously, Tunestr doesn't cannibalize any of that, right? So you just send the stream key to another place. You can stream the concerts that we've done in the past. We have it streaming to half a dozen different places. So you could participate in this with very low risk and no cost. So it's just a very cool time to be playing around with this stuff and to really see people use it and the open source nature of the development.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey in the value for value space. I know there was a big event that happened in Minneapolis, kind of the kickoff. Number one, talk a little bit about the state of the industry, maybe, and what kind of compelled you to really get into this. Maybe even through, I don't know. You seem to be in touch with a lot of artists, and you kind of get to know them, where you can understand their story a little bit, and I'm sure you get frustrated, like the Just Louds of the world. Maybe talk a little bit about what compelled them to actually get involved in that Minneapolis event, or maybe just talk about it in general.
Yeah, sure. The title of the panel here is about sovereignty, and that really ties into a lot of the observations that I have on a regular basis in the industry. I mean, there's music, then there's independent music, right? And so we fight a totally different battle as an independent venue, an independent promoter, where, you know, we're up against Live Nation, right? And for those of you who know, they're always in Washington. They're currently in Washington being, you know, antitrust hearings, antitrust accusations. I'm we're a founding member of the National Independent Venue Association. So that's organization that the owner of my day job founded that in response to the lockdowns. So it was pretty obvious that first weekend we had no representation, right? So like everybody's locked down, the restaurants have their lobby, the airlines have their lobby, within a month, Live Nation got $500 million from Saudi Arabia investors. So what are we gonna do? And, you know, you quickly realize sovereignty, like, what does that really mean, right? Like, we don't have it. And that really brought our community together, this existential crisis. We were shut down. We went from, there's no partial capacity when it comes to live music. You could open a restaurant halfway and make a few bucks, but, you know, it's already so tight in live entertainment that if you were going to offer a half caps concert, well, that's not enough money for the artist to go on tour and pay their hotel and rent a bus and hire a tour manager. So it just doesn't add up. So we went from 100 to 0 for 17 months, and you know, gave us all time to look at things and reflect and really think about this. And talking about sovereignty at the artist level, you know, I've had we supported as many people as we could. We actually did live streams during, you know, we just opened up our doors, had people use our facilities and use our infrastructure to do live streams and raise some money. And so you got to meet.
That was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Because so it became kind of a thing. They're trying to figure out how they can get some sort of a revenue when there's no audience there.
Yeah, it was pure philanthropy with no business model and no sustainable, you know, it's like everybody went to their local gift shops and bought gift cards that Christmas, not needing them, and maybe never even used them, right? That's not going to last. And so interacting with some of these artists like Just Loud and Ainsley, we started talking about what I was up to in Nostr, talked to him about Bitcoin. Ainsley went to the Lightning Summit in July of last year. I don't know if anyone was there, but, you know, she just showed up with her father and started asking questions, a lot like what I did in Nostrasia. And I'm friends with Just Loud. I know him from the music scene. He had a very compelling story of, you know, he went from playing one of the side stages at Lollapalooza to not being able to pay his bills because, I can't even remember, was it 10 million streams on Spotify? Couldn't pay his bills. He was working at a furniture store. So, you know, I reached out to him and both of them trusted me and said, sure, we'll give this thing a rip. And, you know, we rallied the troops, got him on Pleb Chain Radio, got him on Adam Curry's show, got him on, you know, just kind of open up their stories to this community. And, you know, they raised 20 million sats in 2 days, and it was incredible. We all know that was a novelty, right? That people were tipping the concept, people were tipping the technology, people were excited. That was lightning in a bottle. But, you know, the more data that we can gather, and even if it's $10, even if it's $50, that's all upside. And it's, you know, for your mission, you know, it's opportunity to have that conversation about the purple pill, the orange pill, and then just get the pleb wheel going.
And I can't express it enough, the ability to experience the use case. You know, you can sit there and talk about Bitcoin, and people just eyes glaze over because they don't really understand what exactly you're saying, but you're very passionate about what you're saying. But the use case, the experiencing that, when you can be at an event or you can be an artist like that, you're actually purple pilling, which is actually orange pilling these bands or artists that come in. They can be like, wow, I didn't know that was possible. So having these tools, kind of a package deal, like when you did one thing I thought was very powerful was when you did that Minneapolis show with the Ainsley and Just Loud. We had a community, not only on Nostr, but Wave Lake, Sam over there, and then Oscar Mary, Fountain. They chime in, they put a push notification, Ainsley's going live right now. And you're able to listen to it live, and maybe not the video because that was on Tunestr, but let's say you're just driving and you want to listen live, you can Boostagram on that too. So it becomes a kind of a juggernaut that starts building of exposure, building for the community is building these package deals. So I thought that was a really interesting success story based off everyone that's building towards the same common goal, whether it's Oscar, Sam, or you, Mike. It's just neat that happens. So we did that. You did that show. Anything more you want to say about that one? Well, I guess how did they receive it? After that show, after they did that event, were they kind of high on sats?
Oh yeah. And it was just so great because Ainsley speaks the language. She knows. I mean, she's into the tech as a musician. Just Loud was just an open-minded musician who was frustrated with the system, right? And I love all the nerds here, right? Like this is my people, but it's really important to get the traffic going the other direction, right? We need people like Just Loud, or we just did the show with 12 Rods. Getting artists to say yes and just, I'll try this thing. And, we know it's zero risk. Like Tunestr this is not a Tunestr pitch. We don't make any money. Like it's just all a fun, hobby passion for me. And that just is not how artists hear any new idea. It's always a pitch. It's always, they're skeptical of everything, just like Bitcoiners. And they've been sold a lot of crappy bills of goods. So it's shockingly hard to get people to listen to this stuff and just say, hey, you won't even notice it. So one of the most profound things about these shows is that you could be there in person and have no idea that the thing is just popping off online. Like the show that Ainsley and Just Loud played was at our smallest room. It's a 250 cap room. If they would have done a $20 or $30 ticket, they probably would have split $1,500 between them. And then they would have to pay their, whoever's traveling with them, their hotel, blah, 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 do some, So they got to pay the bills and split it up between them. And then what's left? Well, online, they pulled in $4,000 each. And, now it's worth $8,000.
The hardest money.
Yeah. And they're forced toddlers because they don't know how to sell it. It's the best thing ever. But it's interesting because you really, I wanted you to talk a bit about, we're speaking strictly of my world, the live experience, which I think is actually the smallest use case in the space because everybody knows, the Spotify model is effed up and ticketing, right? Like there's all these things that are really gate kept and centralized that kind of go into this black box and come out with pennies.
Tell me about ticketing real quick. Tell me, because you mentioned something to me about like Live Nation was, what were they busted doing? They're basically selling, they're scalping their own tickets to upsell it. They're like the middlemen of their own system.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody in here knows how screwed up, like, quote, Live Nation is, but it's not even half of it, right? Because they own the relationship with the artist, they own the venue, they own Ticketmaster, and now they own the secondary market. So, like, you remember, like, back in the day when, like, a show would sell out, it would actually say sold out. You couldn't even click on the link. Well, now you just click on the link and it says, verified resale. The tickets are like 4x what they own the platform now that, yeah, except it's the StubHub competitor, right? So, like, if you click on a Live Nation show, I mean, if you click on one of my shows, we run on AXS, and they own their own resale market, and it just, if our show is sold out, you click on it and it'll just reroute you to their, like, if you bought a ticket on AXS and you're like, oh crap, I can't go, you can resell it through them. And so that puts a lot of trust / opportunity on somebody like Live Nation to sell the original ticket in the first place. Because when we settle with the band, if you say, hey, I want to play First Ave, right? $100 ticket. All right, we do the math. We're going to pay you, the whole ticket, the whole face value of the ticket. Well, if we control the ticketing, what would stop us from just selling the ticket at $300 right now? Because we know that the Revolution is going to sell out next month. So why don't we just skip this nonsense? And who wants the scalper on the street to make the extra 200? We might as well get it in the industry, right? So yeah, that's happened. And then there's no checks and balances. If the way an artist would tour is like, say, I want to come to Dallas, I want to go play Houston, I want to play San Antonio, I want to play Austin. Well, they'd call up their venues in each of those cities, say, give me your best offer. I want to do 500 tickets at $30. And then they go around town and see what rooms fit. The way it works with Live Nation is we just say, hey, I'm going to buy your Texas tour. I'm just going to pay you $1 million for 5 days of work. And they can just pick your spots, and they route you through San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and Austin, because they own the rooms. So they own the rooms, they own the artist relationship, they own the ticketing company, they own the resale. And it's just, there's no transparency at all.
And Bitcoin fixes this.
That's right.
Yeah, transparency is a beautiful thing, right? And I'd be really surprised if there was transparency there, just how corrupt all that is. Truth is something else. So that was the Minneapolis. You had that show, a lot of compelling stuff there. But you and I in Phoenix, we, along with obviously our Nostr, PHX, Santos, and Sam with Wavelake, we did our Culture Shock event. I think the goal of Culture Shock was showcasing that you don't have to be a venue like First Avenue to tap into Tunestr. We did a live performance in just a small, it could have been this room if we wanted to, but being able to experience the use case of Lightning at a live event, I brought my wife too. That's how I wanted to, that's how I speak to her, I suppose. That's how I orange pill her. But having that big event to small event shows how you can tap in globally with locally at any time you want. And Sarah Jade did an amazing job. Again, a Wavelake artist also, just someone that's trying to get an additional revenue stream. But it was beautiful to see the contrast of a big event to a small event. And I think there was something very powerful about that Culture Shock event.
Yeah, 100%. And, some of the, coming back to just the overall subject of sovereignty, we looked at a lot of those topics in the panels at Culture Shock. So talking about, what is Nostr, what is Lightning, what do these enable that offer the opportunity / I like to use the word responsibility, the challenge for artists to use to further their own sovereignty, their true independence. I actually, on my sleeve, I have independent music plus independent money, because it's like, I think you marry them all together and you have art and business, which could support a lifestyle. I'd love to see artists be able to quit their day job, right? Be an artist. But, at Culture Shock, we talked about some of the tools, right? We haven't talked at all about the ability to own your social graph and have it hop from client to client. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of that?
Well, and it's funny because you just brought that up. I was already in my head. That's kind of what I wanted to, it felt like the right time to talk about that. Because sovereignty is not just about the revenue stream or the independent, having that social graph. Let's say you're an artist and you're on Facebook. Let's say you're an artist and you're on MySpace or something. Once that becomes obsolete, you have to rebuild everything again. So having that private property of your social graph, what you build, censorship resistant, all of that adds to the sovereignty of the actual artist itself, their brand. It's interoperable. I don't think that power is stressed enough. The importance of Nostr, and I think that's going to kind of showcase in the years to come just how valuable that is. But yeah, I think that social graph is a huge thing. And if you're an artist, I would definitely at least start getting your name out there on the Nostr.
Yeah, I think with Bitcoin in the West, right, a lot of the issues are nothing's on fire, at least perceived to be on fire. And so you don't have that forced use case like you do in a hyperinflation situation. Well, a lot of people, including previous versions of myself, would say, well, I don't know, KYC, who cares, right? Like, I'm not breaking any laws. Well, what do I need privacy for? What do I need? Why am I really concerned about being canceled on YouTube, right? But what you hit on is, there's multiple forks in that road, because it's not just having somebody choose to take you off of their platform. It's like, well, what if you spend a half decade on a platform and look what's going on with TikTok right now? Like, if that ever happened and that was banned, well, the value of your identity in that ecosystem is just poof, gone, right? So it was fascinating getting to know Ainsley better. And she for those of you who don't know, Just Loud he's an established artist, was on a big record label. He's been around mid-30s. Ainsley's 19, 20 years old. She's on the way up, trying to push her way in, get discovered. And some of these labels, not some, I guess the barrier to entry to get into the door of a record label is you got to have 1 million followers on TikTok. Like, so instead of writing music and curating art, you got to go whore yourself off to stupid shorts on TikTok and then back into the content. And you think about how much time and effort is going into your social identity and engagement and the stuff that they don't really want to be doing, and then to be rugged from that. Like Nostr, it hasn't happened yet because it's like chicken or the egg right now, in my opinion, because Nostr, we're small, we're tiny. So you're not going to see these gigantic 7-figure engagements on followers and likes, but it's, once they're built, they're there. It's permanent. It's yours. You own it. You own that network.
And it's working. It is absolutely working for some artists out there. If anyone's familiar with Man Like Quex, he's out of Tanzania. Tanzania, the minimum wage is 79 cents. 79 cents minimum wage. It's 1,100 sats for 1 hour of work. That's time. I mean, it's just amazing. That energy is worth 1,100 sats. So when man like Quex becomes, if he gets a #1 chart on Wave Lake, that's amazing. I mean, the amount of sats, the value for value, is exponential when you're in a space like, let's say, Tanzania. So I think a lot of the problems with value for value is what your value is. So let's say I'm in Phoenix. Well, my cost of living is way different than, let's say, Tanzania. So it works at the small scale that we have right now. It's just a matter of where you're applying that value to. And I see artists right now. We're kind of seeing that success here and there, but the amount of sovereignty that someone like Quex can get from doing live, he started off at Stemster with Real Richard, just kind of chopping up some music. Then those songs started going to Wave Lake, and I think in November he's going to be live performance at Pacific Bitcoin. But it's just really neat what they're doing. And they had a music video drop like 2 weeks ago. I don't think anybody really talked about it, but they dropped it on Zap.stream. Like there was a countdown to it. They did a live just here's our video. So they're utilizing all these tools that Nostr allows, from Stemster to Zap.stream to Wave Lake to all the social graph that Quex is participating in. But I think it's really neat to see the diversity or the difference of how everyone's approaching Nostr, whether it's Ainsley, whether it's just Loud, whether it's man like Quex. I think having that is a powerful thing where you can just kind of all approach it differently, get your own value some way. But ultimately, value for me is an additional revenue stream. So when you're selling people on Tunestr, you're not saying this is all you need. It's just you might as well. And I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to sell. I can't guarantee you're getting anything, but tune into Tunestr and you might be surprised. We'll get you a wallet that you can never access and hold forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I think I'm a big believer in the under promise, over deliver, right? I'm a finance guy. I'm oil and water with salespeople. So I don't talk things up, and that, quite frankly, doesn't work in the music industry because everybody has the BS meter so high. The idea of Tunestr just kind of ticking along in the background is kind of what I like. Is you don't bring it up to the forefront yet. Like, we're not ready, right? Like, we did a show with a really great artist the other day, and the sound was just awful, and we're just like we just it's
is that on the through Tunestr the sound was awful?
It was on the venue that we used.
Oh, okay.
Because we're subject to the infrastructure where we go.
Right.
So it's important to have some quality control, and if you want to be taken seriously, you got to do it professionally, and you got to put out a product that everybody's happy with and deserves to be zapped, right? Like, so
it's kind of neat though, because it's like beta testing IRL.
Yeah.
Like,
but to your point,
it's not just people clicking buttons. It's actually, you're there, you're live, and and you're seeing if it works.
Yeah, and some of our tests turn out great. Like we had a guy last weekend. We tried to gamify it a little bit and increase some of the engagement online. So I don't even know how he did it. I'm not a dev. I'm not a production guy. I'm not a dev. But he had it rigged up where the disco ball and the stage lights were triggered as people zapped. So you
experience use case.
So you have the chat room, just like a normal live stream. But then on Zap.stream, if you haven't been in there, when somebody zaps, it interrupts the chat and it puts a little post like so-and-so zapped. And there's like a little mini leaderboard across the top, so that gamifies it a little bit.
Yeah, at Culture Shock, the top 5 zappers, I personally sent the dog tags from the event, number 1 through 5, to the top zappers.
Yeah.
But just kind of the value for value reward and gamifying is really neat.
And so it's fun to play around with it, but I mean, we're not ready for the big time. It's almost a blessing in disguise that we're not, our crazy evangelism isn't working too well, right?
Yeah. So, and I want to say that scoreboard, I don't know who did it, but it was like, it reminded me of like an arcade high score type of environment where like you have your initials and all the high scores. It's just a really cool thing. What was that? So it was kind of a live scoreboard, kind of like Zap.
It was like Galaga.
Zap Life, LOL type of thing.
Yeah, I think they were trying to mimic Galaga.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So, I mean, I think that pretty much, is there anything more we want to talk about? What are we looking forward to? Obviously, it's encouraging to see people like Tunestr, Wavelake, Fountain all working together, having a package offering. What are kind of some of the keys to success that we can talk about for the future?
Yeah, I think the tech is continually evolving. That's awesome. It's incredible to watch what everybody's doing. From a adoption standpoint, what I've learned, like during the last bull market, I went through the evangelism, kind of like, I'm going to change the world. And then like, it just, they're not ready for it, and like you're boiling the oceans, you're, killing baby seals, whatever Bitcoin, this area has a PR problem. We all know that. Like it takes a long time to get people to understand the nuance of some of the headline FUD. And, I think the keys to success is going to be, as much as it's not satisfying, it's going to be slow and steady. And in my world, you bury the Bitcoin and let them come back to it, right? You say, hey, try this thing. All I'm going to do is flip the switch over here, and that live stream's going to broadcast to one other place. It's already going to YouTube and da-da-da-da. And then maybe at the end of the night, they got $50. And then, we all bought our first Bitcoin and we're like, okay, what is this thing, right? Like number go up fixes everything. That makes you start asking questions. And so maybe Just Loud texts me, when this thing does what we know it's going to do. And he's like, hey, how much was that gig worth in 2023? I was like, oh, dude, man, like you played an arena now.
Yeah.
And then that starts, the ultimate advocates are artists talking to other artists. And if it works for some people, then getting them, talking and then having say, hey, oh, well, this 7th Street entry, that's the place where you can go and get this extra revenue stream and get this extra, you can get this like goofy internet money. Whereas like all the other places on my tour, I can't do that.
And shout out to the builders, because between the fork of the Zap.stream, just like the latest feature of the scoreboard and a disco ball that spins with zaps, all of these things become a package. They all start to be these offerings. So when someone like Mike, they have a band 12 Rods comes in, you have a package to present to them. And it's just neat. And a lot of the times these band guys are a little nerdy too, they understand kind of, they speak the language. So it's something, well, that's cool. Let's try that. But everything the devs do, developers do, all the builders, the community, everybody involved, even if you're just jumping on and zapping, you're the reason why this all works. So just keep doing it. And we'll just, the more we can purple, the more we can orange. So
absolutely. Yeah. That's, we are very small. So like, even if everybody in this room got onto a Tunestr, and zapped a little bit, like it really does make a difference to have $20 to show an artist that there are real people out there, because it's different than just hitting the like button.
Yeah.
Different than, and
I just keep thinking that 79 cents.
Yeah, no,
Tanzania. They say $20.
It matters, and it helps the discussions that I have. And to finish on what you were talking about, like, we're building this. Tunestr is just a tiny little thing of it. I mean, it's really inconsequential to the music experience. But what Wave Lake's doing, what Fountain's doing, like, some of those guys, they've been doing it. Like, Rabbit Hole Recap Podcast has been doing it for 6 or 7 years, but they've done the proof of work, and they have the audience who tunes in every single week, and they get zapped. I don't know what they make every week, but I know that that's their business model. And so if people do that, and they train their fans, this is where you go, this is where you consume my content. It's the long game. It's not a quick fix. But having Wave Lake, Fountain, and then we've established relationships with, like, Adam Curry, if you know who he is. He's heavy orange pill. He's the podfather of podcasting and value for value. Yeah, I mean, shout out Adam if you're watching. But
he's watching for sure.
He pumped the heck out of our show in December, and is responsible for a ton of the zaps that came in on the RSS boost side. And I think that really is the key to success, is to unify. And, like, artists ultimately want discovery. They want to be seen, they want to be discovered, they want to be heard, they want, they need revenue. And so if I touch somebody and I can push them to Wave Lake and push them to Fountain and push them to Adam, like, we got to all share the experience. And, like, if somebody comes into the ecosystem, just give them a big bear hug and show them around.
That's the FOSS right there, man. The flywheel, the pleb wheel. The rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. So I think that's it for us. We got 3 minutes, so let's get a question.
I do not. Yeah. I am not.
I think it's I think that's just something that's negotiated.
Probably deal by
case by case. Yeah.
I mean, every band deal in my world is totally different. Like, Adele comes in and she's like, I'm taking the whole gate plus 20%. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Just hit me up after the panel. I mean, as long as they have the infrastructure to live stream, then all you need to do is tell your band members that we're doing it.
And also let us know, because I think our community loves to hold each other up. So
yeah,
planning those ahead of time help.
Yep. Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Those questions right there excite me. That's like, I just get so excited about that.
Any purple pills on you?
Just he gets the orange pill his band through experience, not having to tell them really about it. Just wait, what's going on?
Well, thanks everyone.
Grandpa, why do you have so much Bitcoin?
Well, it all started in the year 2023 when I attended a conference called BitBlockBoom.
What's BitBlockBoom, Grandpa?
It was a conference where people talked about Bitcoin. This was way back when we used something called the US dollar for money.
What? Bitcoin wasn't always the world's money?
If it weren't for great speakers at BitBlockBoom like Jimmy Song, Adam Curry, and Preston Pish, we'd all be living in pods and eating bugs. Instead, I was able to avoid fiat enslavement and secure generational wealth.
F***ing legend.
Be the legend your grandchildren deserve. Experience the best Bitcoin conference out there and join the Bitcoin revolution. BitBlockBoom, the only conference for true Bitcoin maximalists. Book your tickets today at BitBlockBoom.com and use the code BBB1 for a special discount.